this lecture will provide certain suggestions and guidelines for problems that come up, as it is described in great detail on the first video in the Talmud tapes. The sitting height puts the playing mechanism, the finger, the hand, and the arm, in the best mechanical advantage for playing the instrument. The proper place for the alignment to be is that the forearm should be level or slightly above the surface of the white keys. A very helpful way to guide someone to this is to of crowding would result. Here, I am not free to maneuver the different registers of the instrument, particularly in front of the body. If I go too far back, I would be reaching for the instrument. In this position, it's not possible for the finger, hand, and arm to drop freely into the keyboard. Let's now discuss the system of fulcrums that connect limbs to each other. First, the finger, hand, and arm and the upper arm is connected to the torso at the shoulder. It is important for the shoulder not to be too high and not to be collapsed down. It is basically in a neutral position. Following down, we go to the elbow. The elbow is where the finger, hand, and arm connect to the upper arm. The elbow should be in a position where lifting and dropping the finger, hand, and arm is done with ease. If the elbow is too far out, the finger, hand, and arm will not go up and down. First, the finger, hand, and arm and the upper arm is connected to the first. Let's now discuss the system of fulcrums that connect limbs to each other. First, the system of fulcrums that connect limbs to each other. First, the finger, hand, and arm and the upper arm is connected to the torso at the shoulder. It is important for the shoulder not to be too high and not to be collapsed down. It is basically in a neutral position. Following down, we go to the elbow. The elbow is where the finger, hand, and arm connect to the upper arm. The elbow should be in a position where lifting and dropping the finger, hand, and arm is done with ease. If the elbow is too far out, the finger, hand, and arm will not go up and down freely. Hand and arm connect to the upper arm. The elbow is where the finger, hand, and arm connect to the upper arm. The elbow should be in a position where lifting and dropping the finger, hand, and arm is done with ease. If the elbow is too far out, the finger, hand, and arm will not go up and down freely. If the elbow is too collapsed in, the same situation will result. A neutral position allowing for the finger, hand, and arm to go up and down is crucial to the success of the playing. Following down to the wrist is the fulcrum from which the hand moves. It is important to realize that the wrist can neither be too high nor too low. Either situation will prevent the finger, hand, and arm being unified. Following down, we have the main knuckle joint. This is an important joint because it is where the fingers move from. The fingers move up and down in one piece from the main knuckle. In the natural hand position, you will see there are middle knuckles to the fingers. Those middle knuckles should be preserved in the playing. They should neither be straightened out nor curled. The last joint here is important not to collapse in nor to curl. So we have basically the natural position here. Once you attain the alignment for playing, the next step is to play one key at a time. The finger, hand, and arm go up and down together and descend into the key. There are several things to master here. It's important that when you're on the bottom of the key, you're not gripping the fingers to stay there. You're neither letting go of the bottom and hovering the weight up. So we call this easy solid, or being on the bottom of the key effortlessly. At this point, I'd like to clarify the rotational movement. In showing a student the rotational movement, it's very helpful to locate the arm in front of the body. Being on the bottom of the key effortlessly. This easy solid, or being on the bottom of the key effortlessly. Gripping the fingers to stay there. You're neither. Several things to master here. It's important that when you're on the bottom of the key, you're not gripping the fingers to stay there. You're neither letting go of the bottom and hovering the weight up. So we call this easy solid, or being on the bottom of the key effortlessly. Fingers. Those middle knuckles should be preserved in the playing. They should neither be straightened out nor curled. The last joint here is important not to collapse in nor to curl. So we have basically the natural position here. Once you attain the alignment for playing, the next step is to play one key at a time. The finger, hand, and arm go up and down together and descend into the key. There are several things to master here. It's important that when you're on the bottom of the key, you're not gripping the fingers to stay there. You're neither letting go of the bottom and hovering the weight up. So we call this easy solid, or being on the bottom of the key effortlessly. At this point, I'd like to clarify the rotational movement. In showing a student the rotational movement, it's very helpful to locate the arm in front of the body, like this. I would turn the palm towards the body and towards the floor. That will produce a rotational movement. Remember that the finger, hand, and arm must all move together, towards the body, towards the floor. It's very much like turning a tennis racket. The head of the tennis racket stays in alignment. Don't always start with a large motion, especially if the student is injured. The issue here is towards the floor. It's very much like turning a tennis racket. The head of the tennis racket stays in alignment. Showing a student the rotational movement, it's very helpful to locate the arm in front of the body, like this. I would turn the palm towards the body and towards the floor. That will produce a rotational movement. Remember that the finger, hand, and arm must all move together, towards the body, towards the floor. It's very much like turning a tennis racket. The head of the tennis racket stays in alignment. Don't always start with a large motion, especially if the student is injured. The issue here is feeling connected, finger, hand, and arm, and free to the elbow. This can be achieved with a small motion. Connected, finger, hand, and arm, and free to the elbow. This can be achieved with a small motion. The preparatory motion refers to the motion that begins a passage and also to the first part of a motion in the double rotation. A single rotation functions to accommodate changes of direction, such as a trill. This is a movement from left to right and right to left. The double rotation consists of two motions, the first being a preparatory motion followed by a play and swing. I like to show the rotation starting in the descending direction. I like to start with 4 fingers and avoid using the thumb. The reason for avoiding the use of the thumb is because we would need the in and out motions in order to play the thumb. It is much simpler to deal with just the rotation. I like to play straight down and show the rotation over a distance, say to the second finger. Sometimes it's easier for the student to understand rotation over a distance than it is to understand rotation to the very next note.
Down list does a very interesting thing because it sounds better this way with the chords. We're taking the natural minor going down. Okay, once again minor, harmonic minor going up, and natural minor going down. Notice I'm playing with note pedal. It's good to first learn it with note pedal and then to add pedal later.
Joining me now, former mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
Minor, the harmonic minor.
And 2020 presidential candidate, Mayor Pete Buttigieg. It's very good to see you, Mayor Pete. Thank you
Good to be
very
with
much.
you.
I know how actively you were campaigning for Joe Biden. And this morning, the president's national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, he did say if Biden is determined the winner, and he used the conditional, rather than making it very clear, he said, quote, obviously things look that way now. They'll have a very professional transition. But that's not what we are hearing from the president or his other supporters, from all the people who are being misled by the president and gathered here and others around the country, maybe 73 million people who voted for him, and many of them do not believe that Joe Biden was elected legally.
This is really unfortunate because we have a result and the country needs to move on. So does the transition. Now, the transition is a phenomenally talented group of dedicated public servants who are doing their job as effectively as they can. But each passing day that this denial goes on, it has a real cost. It sounds from the language of the National Security Advisor and others like they're sort of gradually trying to ease the president into recognizing reality. Unfortunately, whether it's on things like climate change, things like COVID, or things like his own election defeat, recognizing reality has not always been a strong suit over there. But this really has implications for the ability of this transition to do what it needs to, which is work very swiftly in order to prepare the incoming president, the president-elect, and the American people for what's ahead.
2020 presidential candidate Mayor Pete Buttigieg. It's very good to see you, Mayor Pete. Thank you very much. I know how actively you were campaigning for Joe Biden. And this morning, the president's national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, he did say if Biden is determined the winner, and he used the conditional, rather than making it very clear, he said, quote, obviously things look that way now. They'll have a very professional transition. But that's not what we are hearing from the president or his other supporters, from all the people who are being misled by the president and gathered here and others around the country, maybe 73 million people who voted for him, and many of them do not believe that Joe Biden was elected legally. President-elect Biden is still not getting intelligence briefings. How big of a concern is that to you? You're a former veteran. You're a veteran, I should say, of Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's a real concern. I mean, I think back to my days being involved in counterterrorism. You really want to know what the threat streams are, what's materializing now, what's anticipated for the near future. You want to know intelligence on what's happening, maybe non-public information about what's happening in our relationships with other countries and other leaders. Think about this. There are foreign leaders calling to congratulate the president-elect, where he could benefit from context about those leaders or their countries that he's not getting. Of course, we also know that the State Department right now is not doing what it should by protocol and forwarding some of the messages that have come in from leaders around the world to the president-elect. Again, look, the transition has people who have served in the intelligence community and national security community through many administrations, and they're doing the work that they need to do to prepare policy structure, but they're missing a very important piece of this. And there's a real national security cost to each passing day that the president-elect and his team aren't getting the information they need.
Speaking of the State Department, Mike Pompeo has arrived in Turkey. He's on a 7-nation tour. He left Paris today, rebuffed by any public events with the French leaders, although they said it was because of the COVID lockdown. There's some question about that because they have come out and very strongly reached out to Joe Biden. Pompeo, notably, last week said that there will be a smooth transition to the second Trump administration. The leader said he was joking, but he has projected around the world that he's one of the resistors, one of the deniers. How dangerous is that?
Well, remember, the U.S. has historically been viewed as the world's leading democracy. And as we speak, he's traveling around a region that is not one where democracy has fully been embraced. So for him to have to clear up whether he's joking about a peaceful, orderly transition of power in a free and fair election in the United States of America, that's not just a setback for the perception of the U.S., that's a setback for democracy itself. Look, he remains the Secretary of State for the next 65 days at the pleasure of the outgoing president. But if he is going to travel abroad, it's really important not to be sending confusing or mixed signals, given that a lot of policies are likely to change when President Biden takes office next year. And again, to have him going around saying anything other than what you would expect people who participate in electoral democracy to say, which is that we embrace and accept the results of an election, whether it's our side or the other side that wins. So look, the ability of those who lose elections to handle that, it's actually one of the bedrock building blocks of democracy. And each day that they fail to do that, whether it's because of the president's feelings or because, I don't know what it's about, because even they clearly understand that he's not going to be able to somehow reverse the election and the will of the American people. But whatever is motivating it, it is costly, not just to the interests of the United States, but to the interests of democracy itself.
There are a lot of concerns that the president will order an immediate withdrawal from Afghanistan before he leaves office. Having served there, should he be doing that in this lame duck period after cleaning house at the Pentagon and putting in his loyalists?
Again, when you're talking about something as serious as war and peace, it's one of the areas where it's most important for there to be some level of continuity or consistency, or at least communication between outgoing and incoming administrations. It's tough to know exactly what the president has in mind. He may simply be continuing to say what he always says, or there may be some intention of action behind it. But sending mixed signals or making precipitous decisions in the final days of an administration is not likely to be conducive to long-term or near-term American or regional security interests. We've got to have some coordination here, which is why it's all the more important that they take that first vital step, which is to recognize reality and get together. Earlier on the program, you heard the economic kind of equivalent, a story that's not often remembered, at least not remembered often enough, which was the way that the outgoing Bush administration and the incoming Obama administration really cooperated on rescuing the auto industry. Their ability to do that
Конечно, интересно. Вот я тебе что за невозможно. А что тебе с того, что ли, документ? Нормально.
I'm sorry. Natural minor going down. And so forth and so on. It simply works up all 12 keys, all 12 major keys, and it's parallel minor. Now, you might think, oh, that's all nice and easy and well and everything, just that, but no, it's not, because now we're going to fill in the notes in the middle. You can see here in the score, Hopefully you can see this okay here. In Bach Scholar's edition here, you can see the chords are all written out with octaves plus 2 notes in the middle. So you're always going to play 4 notes per chord, and it's always 1 line here per scale. So now let's take, and it's good to practice hands separately, but for time's sake, for this video, I'm just going to do hands together. Okay, so we have our C, and now we're going to fill it in with E and G. E and G, making a complete chord. Many piano teachers teach to play 4 here, 5, 4, 2, 1. I do not. I teach to play 3, and I will explain that in a minute, but please use 3 here, don't use 4. It remains consistent with all major keys. So 5, your octave here, 3, 2 here, 2, 3 here. That's a root position. Now we're going up to D, play the octave first. Now we're going to fill it in with G and B. G and B. 3. And 2 here, 2 and 4 here. This is a second inversion of a dominant chord, second inversion of a G chord. So those are the C chord in root position, the G chord in second inversion. Make sure you play 3, 2 here, 2, 4 here. Fingering is important. Now we go up to the next step. E. We're going to fill this in with G and C, G and C. This is a first inversion of a C chord. Please play 4, 2 here and 2, 4 here. And then the next one is F. We're going to fill that in with, this is simply a root position, so we have A and C, with 3, 2, 2, 3. Once again, do not play 4 here. As many piano teachers teach, play 3. This remains consistent with all the major chords in root position. Okay? Now, the next one is G. We're on the 5th tone, or the dominant. Now we're going to have C and E with 3 and 2, C and E with 2 and 4. And now I like the next chord. It sounds great. This is going to be a minor 6. So we play an A, and we have a C and an E, a C and an E. So do play 4 here. Play 4, 2, play 2, 3. The reason why you want to play 4 here, the general rule is with whether it's 4 or 3, if it's a minor third here, play 4. If it's a major third, play 3. So for example, if you play A major, play 3. If you play A minor or any minor chord in root position, play 4. That's the general rule with the left hand and with both hands, with the exception of the first inversion of the chord, which is 4 here. That's a major third, so that's really the only exception. So major third, 5-3, minor third, 4-5-4. Sorry about that. Now, let's take off where we left off. An A minor, so we have an A, C and E, C and E. And then next we have B. That's really of the chord, which is 4 here. That's a major third, so that's really the only exception. So major third, 5-3, minor third, 4-5-4. Sorry about that. Now, let's take off where we left off. An A minor, so we have an A, C and E, C and E. And then next we have B. This is a G, this is D and G with 4 and 2, 2 and 4. That is a G chord or a dominant chord in first inversion. And then we arrive in the root position, once again, 3, 2, 2, 3 here. So I'm going to play all of those chords all together now. Down with the same fingering. Try to form the chords in the air. Form the chords in the air. Okay, don't push your fingers down and try to find all your fingers, but when you're in the air, you will form the next chord. So I'm going to play this once again just a tiny bit faster. Pedal. I love this exercise. It gives so much strength to the hand. It teaches you harmony at the same time. This is how it sounds with pedal. If you play with pedal, make sure you change it clearly on every tone, every chord. Exactly the same fingering as you just did here. Excuse me. Now we are going to look at the minor. The minor is similar but a little bit different. So once, let's just review. Or I'm sorry, go natural minor going down. If you don't know natural or harmonic minors, you need to learn those first. This exercise assumes you know your minor keys and your minor scales and how they operate. So please learn about minor if you don't know about them already. So now we're going to play C. We're going to fill it in with a minor chord. Remember 4, 2 here, 2, 3 here. And now that's a nice sounding C minor chord in root position. We have D. We're going to fill it in with G and B. G and B, natural. That's a major 5 in second inversion. And now we're going to go to the first inversion of a C minor chord. And now we're going to 4 chord, a minor 4. Play 4, 2 here, 2, 4 here. It's an F minor. I like this next chord here. This is a second inversion, or a 6/4 of a minor 1 chord. That is a C minor in second inversion. 5, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. And now the next chord is really nice sounding. This is a major 6, major 6. This is an A flat major chord. 5, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Normal root position fingering. And you have to jump up to B natural now. B natural here with D and G, D and G. And that was the first inversion of 5, by the way. And then we have a 1, a minor 1. Now when we go back, make sure you're not going to go back to that, but you're going to go to a minor. You have a B flat here. Remember, we have to flat the 7th going down. So this is a minor 5, and then everything is the same after that. Now I'll play them all together without talking. Now I'm going to play with pedal a little bit faster. Beautiful sounding scale. Beautiful sounding scale. I am going flat, don't fall down. Make sure to keep your fingers nice and curved. Now, I am going to run through C major and C minor, both with pedal, without talking.
Я застав, да не можна там. На, дивись. Ні, ні. Нет, наоборот. Что дальше? Ну да. Ну да. Это что такое вообще? Наоборот, так наоборот. Нет, кому-то не нужно, может, наоборот. Нет. Наоборот. Наоборот, себе ему послал. Нет, не надо. Ты что? Да, это есть танца. Наоборот. Как надо. Ну нет, это плотненько, конечно. любая работа музыкальная. Что-то посылался. Нет, это смена так будет. Чуть так наоборот. Чуть не знаю. Зачем писать тогда? Ну, чтобы думал ты один и только. Тебя. Наоборот, нет, да. Да нет. На самом деле. Ты никто, может, сидел. Что за слово такое? Что за сюжет? Побоись я. На солнце можно. Зачем оно? Какая разница? Если будет, если все это будет бесплатно, если все бесплатно будет. Ну понимаешь, пробник, да. Бесплатно ты ничего, то есть, ну а как? Это уже другой вопрос. Тут нехрен делать. Когда ты что-то делаешь, а потом оказывается, что ты что-то не делаешь. Завода победишь. Ну не важно, все равно не бесплатно. Да, тоже. Нет, а так, тоже сразу. Хуй ты не видишь. Ладно. Так. Ну, а ты как считаешь? Да, скажу кому, если ты понимаешь, насколько ну да. Нет, не надо, я уже достал просто, но я тебе скажу, да, что женщинам вообще никакого изменения не было. Я понял. То есть, ну ты пойми правильно. Не надо, думайся, хоть не думайся, да. Не плевать. Просто ну думайся, да, слава тебе. Ну, до себя докажи. Не, меня не касается. Я тоже так думал, смотри, вот я хочу быть гигантом где-нибудь там, воротилой, ты вот там, не знаю, бизнеса, какого-то шута, неважно, да? Короче, мужиком каким-то реальным, да? Властью, деньгами, как-нибудь, что-нибудь. Да, как, ну или как хочешь, да, ну понимаешь, короче, да, да, да. Морально большим человеком, ну хрен его знает. Ну, к примеру, просто, да. Ну, да, да, да. Наверное, у них такая же тематика, да. То есть, да. Ну да, а это, ну как бы, не знаю, нет оправдания этому. Ну, это я просто так. Ну, конечно, просто все. То есть женщины не могут быть мужчинами, понимаешь? Они не могут даже хотеть быть мужчинами. Это все как бы. И более того, если они так, им кажется, что они так делают, или если они так делают, тогда ну, понимаешь, как сказать. Ну, короче, да он же сам говорит, ну, понимаешь, как бы, ну, понимаешь, ну, то есть как бы